Meet Chris. He started investing in 2019 and has built his portfolio to £44,000 per month, all whilst working as a full-time consultant. His property business is now set to double in the next 2 years. So in this video, we're going to unpack how he invests with a full-time job, the unique property investment strategy that he focuses on, and how you can actually get started with a similar business. Chris, if I was to ask you to give me a templated idea of what a typical deal looks like for you that you're doing at the minute, what would that look like?
So at the minute we are doing, it'll be commercial based, and that's down to a couple of reasons, the price point and the workings of the building. It's anything we can get 7 bedrooms plus. So we'll be looking at least 2,000 square foot buildings and anything above, anything that, so from a price point we know it'll stack, and from an interest level, just with the way that the commercial buildings are compared to residential, is something we're looking to do, and that's our minimum blueprint. Anything more than that, we're obviously very keen as well, but there are the more challenges, the bigger the property, to do with outside space, as I know from council, and to do with how big you really want a HMO, if you want to actually potentially make it and split it into 2, etc. So, but yeah, if you said to me what's the perfect one, it would probably be something between 7 and 11 bedrooms, so from 2,000 maybe to 3,500 square foot.
Yeah, so you've jumped straight into HMOs there, really, don't you? So 2,000 square meters, 2,000 square foot. I work on square meters. Is that like 190 square meters?
Yeah.
Okay, so pretty big buildings.
Yeah, pretty big. The big buildings. Obviously, we started looking at residential. I think everyone does.
Yeah.
But realised the competition, so much competition out there. You've probably got 80% of people looking compared to 20% on the commercial. So we learned very quickly that actually, though our first couple had been sort of commercial and actually probably residential commercial, we've got more of an open run at something. And then the commercial is more of a challenge because the building doesn't necessarily stack up as you can count with the residential. But I think if you've got the time and the sort of the foresight to see what the building looked like and the vision, then commercial definitely stacks up. And I think from a end of GDV, what you put in, cost of renovation, always more than the residential to factor in. But if you're getting your money out the back end, which obviously we try to do, commercial definitely stacks for us, and it's something that's worked all the way through. Yeah,
so you're doing commercial to residential conversions.
Yeah,
nice. It's one of those things where, like you say, loads of people when they get into HMOs, they want to, and even me myself, my initial port of call is, where can I find some big residential houses that I can just convert into 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 bed HMOs, whereas to go down the commercial route, I find there's a lot more complexity to it, in that there's a bit more you have to do, but you get so much more property for your money typically. So I think that's really good. Could you give me an example of a property you've got going through at the minute, or a deal that you're doing right now?
Yeah, so we've got one in Warrington. So we bought 2 buildings together. One's we did a prior permitted development on that's now going to be a 6-bed HMO above, and it's going to be our office underneath. And we've got a building next door. We bought both of them because we needed the outside space of the one that we've got at the moment. But the one that we've got next door is going to be a 15-bed. And an office. We've been working with Warrington Council. They've come to site, which is unheard of. Yeah. The building was empty for 20 years. So it's got some sort of interest from Warrington. The police have been saying we could get this part of town actually looked after. So it's right in the centre of Warrington. The police have actually supported the planning application, which is, I don't think I've ever seen that before.
Yeah,
They've
that's
said,
amazing.
we would definitely support the building being brought back into use. But yeah, it's an amazing sort of building. Again, that's that's going to be, I'll do it metre squared. That's like nearly 400 metres squared. And we've picked that up for 200,000.
So as in both buildings together?
No, that was just one.
That's the larger one.
The one next to it was 200,000 as well. But we had to pick them both up at the price point, but it's
In
400
order to
for
make
both of them. But so the building next to it is like 185 square meters, which is our office and above.
Yeah.
So yeah, picking up nearly 600 square meters central Warrington for 400k. I think most people would say I'll have some of that. But these deals are just there. It's been sat there.
Yeah.
We got offered it by the agent because the buyer was sort of got cold feet. They've had cold feet for about 2 or 3 buyers. But it takes a certain buyer to see, wow, we've got to come in and do this, and it's a bit scary. Oh, the roof needs doing. Oh, it's leaking. Why has it been empty 20 years? Is there some sort of else? Is it structurally sound? There's a reason why someone else hasn't done it. That's why I'm not doing it. That's that thing. Well, I'll go in and said, this looks too good to be true, only because I've done a number of projects.
Yeah.
We're going, if it's structurally sound, it's going to be, is it to do with the local planning? Are they stopping it? Then you realise, look, Warrington, for example, no Article 4, no local policy that stops HMO upon HMO. And then you've got to have the confidence, and also you've got to have the right power team behind you, right architect that can support your vision, and then, the right planning consultant who can give you the advice to say, yeah, I'll work with you and support that and push that through. All these things have to align, but you've still got to make that first decision. It's a risk thing, and I do take a risk regularly, and if I feel comfortable, I'll just do it. I probably haven't dotted everything together to make that decision, and some people want everything there. I'm more, that'll work, that's the end value. How do I get there? I'm not sure yet, but I will do it. And that's how normally I will work. I know some people want to be just a bit more regimented, which is fine, but I think I'm more sort of just a risk taker, and it's, so far it's worked.
Yeah, that's amazing. You said at the beginning your typical deal is 7 to 11 bedrooms, but your immediate you're doing at the moment.
I know, so yeah,
21 rooms and 2 commercial spaces.
Yeah, two commercial and two commercial spaces, which I'm going to take. We'll probably take. Well, our company will take both of them. I think definitely the one of them. So yeah, again, that's just something we're working through at the moment. Again, as I say, most of our stuff has been, the minimum's been 8 bedrooms through to sort of 10 bedrooms. We've done 13 bedrooms as well in Stockport, which was a nice find, under 200k as well for a purchase price. Wow. That was during COVID, so the good days when the people weren't out as many buyers. But yeah, I think when you see the bigger buildings, once you buy a certain number of buildings, and you're looking for something maybe a little bit more exciting, and you're trying to do, and you see something that well, that's going to stack up. There's going to be more to it. I wouldn't suggest anyone goes along and says that's my first deal, I'm going to do a 15 bed. You would do it, but you'd have lots of learnings in it. There'll be sort of a financial risk to it, just on making mistakes, because we make mistakes every project. But it's about trying to minimise those risks. But yeah, I would say outside that, those are more unicorn deals. If I'm being honest with you, they don't come around every time. But yeah, there's just something we're working on, just a live deal at the moment.
That's amazing. And you're currently doing this alongside a job, which is, I'd love to get onto that in a minute. But you said you bought this one just to finish up on this deal. You bought these 2 properties, £400,000 combined. Yep. You're going to convert one into a 6-bed HMO with a commercial unit, and the other one into a 15-bed HMO with a commercial unit.
That's right, yeah.
What's the total GDV of that entire project across those 2 properties?
So across those, it's going to be 2 million. 400k purchase.
£400,000 purchase with a 2 million. What's the build cost going to be, do you think?
So for our office and for the 6-bed HMO, at the moment it's coming in at 188. So it's a little bit. So there might be a little bit more, but a couple of the issues are more around. It's a heritage area, that being the issue. So we've got to get the sash windows that they're forcing us to do with the upgraded acoustic. They're expensive, but outside that, I think we've got a good price to deliver that. The one next door is going to be that's going to be 500k, and though most people go wow, and I think when we were doing it, we'll go, really, that much? It will. It needs a new roof. Nothing's happened. The building's been empty for 20 years. Say structurally sound, but we're budgeting around 500k to do that, because there's so much we've got so much in it that we've got that manoeuvrability when you buy it for 200, knowing that yes, and it will be really, really high end. Lots of the rooms are going to probably be studios. Got some couple of rooms, I think one of them at least can be 29 square meters, so big, some big old spaces there. So on that, if you price per square footage, a builder will probably come in at 400k with the additional stuff we need to do. I think pricing 500. So yeah. So again, a scary figure for some people, but it's something that stacks for us.
Sorry to pull you away from the podcast. Just really quickly, if you are serious about getting into property and you want to get started investing in properties, then we've got a bunch of free tools, resources, calculators, video courses, you name it. We've created it for you completely for free. You can access it through the link in the description of this video or this podcast. It's a scary figure, but as you say, you're 400 in on the purchase, you're, let's say, 700 in on the development, so you're 1.1 in there, plus obviously some fees and costs and everything involved. With a 2 million GDV, that's a fantastic deal. And I one of the reasons why I actually wanted to get you on the podcast was because we connected over Instagram, because I saw what you were doing, posting about some of the HMOs you were doing. They're really high quality. I mean, David, when you're editing this, throw up some photos of the quality of the finishes that you guys do. You do really care about high quality, don't you?
We do. To be honest with you, I can't take any or stroke much of the credit, so that's down to Anna. So she's very good from an interior design perspective. Obviously, she's been looking at the market, seeing how trends have been going, and she puts her own sort of taste on things. And I think it's nice we're sort of out there and get noticed for that, and that becomes maybe your IP. The people I remember that, because people know there's so much HMO development going on. If you've got something that maybe sets you away from your competitors, even just from a tenant perspective, that's a high quality, and even from the HMO officers coming around, the one we completed, and they were going a bit off tangent, but the HMO officer for Stockport came around to our latest one that we finished in Heaton Chapel and said it's the best one he's ever seen.
Yeah.
And I'm going to support your application. We've got another one, a grade 2 listed building in Stockport that we're going through. He said, I'm going to support your application with the planning officer. And we were like, wow, so that's a bit unheard of, and that, and it's nice that people do remember you from there. As I say, that's down to Anna, but more than happy to live off any credit she gets. But and she, it's nice to have that care and attention within there. But it's something that we've tried to do from day one. Yeah,
and it's great from delivering high quality housing from that perspective, but also, I mean, it blows me away how much you can increase the rent in an area from going from a nice HMO room to a really nice, if you were to get a really nice, you kind of almost like cookie cutter, like HMO finish, a little feature wall, it looks nice, but it's kind of bare minimum. To go from that to the sort of stuff you do probably doesn't cost a crazy amount of money, but can take your rents from like £550, £600 per room to 700 per room, which especially when you're looking at a commercial valuation on the back end,
is massive.
Makes a huge difference.
Massive, makes a massive difference, and that's what we subconsciously, that's worked for us, and we're like, oh, that's the knock-on effect. Let's keep on doing it. But it's what I've noticed. I use Crewe, Warrington, Stockport market. That actually, you probably only got 10 to 15% of people that can afford that higher end. But I tell you what, they'll come to you and they'll go, I want that studio. Our studio rooms, when they've only recently done them in the last 3 developments, and they've been the first ones out the door, the most priced out, and they've got, I want that. And we're like, wow. And they've gone out and we've priced them higher and higher, no issues in there. And people want more space, and they want facilities when they want to have that ability to, yes, I'm going to integrate with the group of the house, but also if I've had a day and I just want to be by myself and I want to do some cooking facilities and stuff, I have a bit of space, chill out, I've got a couch in my own room, I want that, don't need to necessarily socialise and stuff, and it's just that having that ability to do both things is what people are prepared to basically pay a premium for.
And you work a full-time job whilst doing all these amazing projects, which is phenomenal. How did you I mean, if we were to wind it back, what's been your career path like? Because you're a consultant now, right?
Yes, consultant. So my career path was after university. I started working for an investment bank. Worked there 17 and a half years, and always been in IT, and very lucky. Lived in different countries, and I sort of met Anna in London. 2008. We, she's a store manager, retail. I'd had some buy-to-lets, and at that time, we were looking for, we sort of got together, and it was like I had a couple of opportunity at work. We actually went to South Africa for 3 years.
Wow.
So we
Whereabouts?
moved out, went to Joburg, amazing
nice.
place. So not many people would have that on their. I'd like to go and live in Joburg, but that opportunity came up, and we went out there, and I think. That 3 years, Anna wasn't working. Our first daughter Jessica had been born, and she came back, and we went back to I was going back to London. We were living in Kent, and Anna went back working as a store manager. I was working back in London, and then after 3 years, we sort of realised that actually there's more to life than coming back and working, and there was something else. We were talking about property, but we didn't do anything for another 3 years. So we were talking earnestly, probably in 2015 all the way to 19. So I think we should do that. I think, I look back now and thought we should have done something there. We were looking. We could have started 4 years earlier, and that's what I wish we did. And then I think we just organically we moved back up north, and I was originally from Knutsford, so coming back up. So came up north again, and we've been here since 2017. And then at that time, Anna and I were discussing what she wanted to do, and then she went on one of these. Masopi courses. It's basically multiple stream of income. One of those. So basically with a progressive event, and after that, and to be honest with you, Anna's taken it to sort of Dr. Water. She hasn't maybe got a property background, but she had an interest, and she picked up everything really quickly. And at that time, that's when we decided on the strategy of HMO, because I'd had a few buy-to-lets from earlier from when I first started working, and picked up some. They made a bit of money, but nothing amazing. Really hands-off investment, but I'd been looking around and saying, what can we do to grow quickly? Because I'd realised property was making a lot of money for some people, but what was that missing key? What was that strategy? How did you go about doing it? How did people always get their money? How can you keep on buying stuff? Because when I bought something, I didn't have any money to buy anything again. So what are we missing? And you realise you're working on one side, but you need someone else to be in the business. And Anna was like, from day one, I'm going to be in the business. And she's been there from day one. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to grow. I wouldn't have been able to work full time and keep things going, which is basically investing all our money back into property, because you live off your property money.
Yeah.
If I was doing that, we'd have grown quicker, but it'd have been more of a risk with a family just on there. I mean, everyone's got different risk appetite. Mine was, let's grow the business, see where it goes. I don't mind working short term. It's been a bit longer than I thought, but I still enjoyed it. But we've been sort of walking and not running, and now we're maybe ramping up. So it's been, things have worked really well. But like I say, Anna's been in it, and me working's just given us that disposable income on the side where we've been able to reinvest things. And you've got so many costs when you do these developments. Bridging, development finance, waiting for money to come through. Refinance, it takes months and months and months. If you think 6 months, think 9, 10, 11, that's been my learning. So,
yeah, absolutely. Just going to your buy-to-lets, just out of interest, I had a guest on the podcast not too long ago called Jack Townsend, and he was telling me how he picked up 15 houses, just working a job, living at his parents, saved up. Yeah. Put the money in as a deposit on a house. Was that your sort of thing? Like you just worked a job, saved some money?
I sort of I bought my first place in London when I was 24, and I then sort of 3 years later I sold it, but I'd made like 150 grand. I was like, wow. And then bought something else, and then that's made. So I'd had money on the side organically just from moving. trying to upgrade on the housing market in London, and I made money at the time, and so that money I sort of filtered into standard sort of buy-to-lets, and I was buying some stuff, bought a couple of things in Manchester, I bought something in Essex, I remember at the time, and so where I saw new builds, and I thought, oh no, I can get a good deal here, and I went in and do that. So that's basically what I'd been thinking of at the time, and I thought that, you know, they were fairly good yields and do stuff, but there was no more real planning than that, really.
Yeah. Okay. And then after a while, you sat on those for a bit, and then HMOs were with the strategy.
Chosen strategy. Yeah.
You decided to go down. You stayed in your job. What do you think has been the biggest benefit to staying in your job whilst investing? Because so many people jump to, they might go to one of these events of like a property education event and go, this is amazing, I want to get into property. I had someone literally yesterday stop me and say, I want to get into property full time, I want to quit my job and get into property because there's so much money to be made in it. And I'm like, whoa, just slow down on the quit your job first. Because people think, let's just get out of my job and get into property. Why did you want to go down this route of staying in your job, and what has been probably the biggest benefit of doing that?
I think for what we're looking from a HMO commercial route is that can't downplay what we do because it takes so long. So you find a deal, you've got to get it all through conveyancing, you've got planning, you've got to work with the architect, get a plan together, then you've got to get it through planning. Then, you know, once you're there, then you've got to hit building regs, find a builder, go out to tender, find a start date, maybe work a finance company on development finance, get that project through, working with the builder, it's the hardest piece. You then got the risk of an end valuation, then got to get the valuation done, and then you've got to get financed out and get your money back in your hand. That process can take 18 months. So what you're going to do for 18 months, and if you've got dependents, you're doing stuff, it might be if you're living at home with mum or dad, then you were younger, then it's doable. Or if you've got lots of cash reserves, it depends on the individual, then that's fine to do. We were already sticking all our money into property, so I was like, going, well, if I don't, then I'm going to, and I don't want to be seen to be living off the bank account when when they look at the end, they look at your bank statements, they'll go, why are you sending this money off? Where's the money coming? If they can see the money's kept in there, you put directors' loans in, but you're not taking it out. Makes it easier at the beginning. And really, there was a multitude of different things. I could see where we were going, but I wanted to get further down the path to doing. I was just uncomfortable, and I think I've been proven right, at least in our scenarios where we were both saying that's 9 months, and then we got 18 months later. I was thinking, I'm glad for whatever reason it's taken twice as long, and a lot of the time you find yourself there and you're just trying to find the most constructive way to get to the end of the development, because you do get challenges all the way through. Getting there, I think in hindsight I'm glad we've done it, and I think without that I'd have been challenging myself. Obviously, I don't know, we might have been able to get more investment, be able to grow quicker, do other projects and stuff like that. But I didn't want ever to be seen that I'm living off investor money. And I think that's because I look at things and go, how are they living? Are they getting money? And they, is it a Ponzi scheme? Is it do stuff? And we haven't had to do that. So we haven't really, we've been able to grow organically and do stuff. Obviously I look at other things and compare to other people and think, what would I do? And maybe other people that would never even come into their minds. But I'm just thinking from a finance perspective, it's a key because we've all got to live, and other people have got different costs. That was just something that was a concern of mine, and I didn't want ever to be in that situation.
Yeah. And also, do you find that has it helped from a lending perspective?
Yeah, I think it has. Obviously, I've refinanced my home as well, or tried to get better rates just personally doing stuff. And also just from, if I was going to Shawbrook, for example, and they were looking at Parker's Properties accounts monthly going through, they're not going to see like 10k being sent off to Chris randomly, or Anna, going, what's this? Even though you can see within there, they will probably be all right to a certain degree now. But I think at the beginning they'll go, especially beginning, if we've got no rent coming through and the money's going back to you, or because they look at your personal statements as well. And luckily they can see my consultancy, because I've got my own company. They can see money coming through each month. I pay myself each month a decent amount, and that comes through each month, so they can see my company paying me, and there's no questions asked. So I don't know the other way what questions would be asked, but otherwise it's never really come into it because they can see the money coming in.
Yeah, and coming to the time in your life where you'd been to this course, or Anna had been to the course. Did you go to it?
I didn't know, so we got 2 cows. I was doing I did the school run that weekend. I looked up all weekend. So in hindsight, that was probably one of the best decisions we made, apart from we should have been before. But Anna just proactively went down, and literally she came back. I could tell she was buzzing after that. But interesting, I still remember the first thing she said. I knew like 70% of it. I was going, did you? And I thought, all the stuff I've been saying to me, and she goes, no, it was a lot of common sense, and it's just that 30%. And off the back of that, I think she went on a HMO course with, so we probably got hooked into one of those, go away for another 4 days with the HMO stuff. And I think even off the back of that, got some book that she was like, learned a bit. It was more around networking. I think at that point we realised there was networking, because she came away going, oh, I've met these people, and that penny dropped with me. Actually, she said, I've got this booklet and stuff. I'm not sure it's got some material, but I met this person and they're looking to do that and do stuff. And then we went, oh, it's on networking. It's then the connections and she said, we need to do this. We need to do this full time. And we set up a company 3 months later, and we were actively looking, and then we got our first deal came from there. But I know she did a lot of networking at the start. A lot of people at the start of their journey, again, a lot of people looking at HMOs, they're looking at service accommodation stuff, but you still, once you're in that you're in that property industry, everyone's sort of, especially newbies, they want to sort of have a connection, understand what you're trying to do, that was probably the most powerful takeaway from that event. Yeah.
And what do you think that first deal that you did, and even from that training event to doing that first deal and having that completed, what was that journey like, and what was maybe some of the biggest challenges that you came across?
So that's a great question, because ours was a very interesting one. The first one we did was actually a commercial.
Oh, really?
So it was. So
commercial
it was a vet practice in Central Crewe, Edelston Road, which is now Article 4, so we've looked out on that one. But it was a residential house, but they changed it to, back in the day, but they changed it to a vet practice. So we saw it online, and I was like, oh, go and visit, and I went to see it, and it was I think it was Purple Bricks or someone like that, and it was online auction, as in you could put offers in. Someone to put an offer in, and we were waiting to be told, and someone had been accepted. So Anna rang them up the following day, I think, and said, look, we'll offer more. We offered like 10 grand more, and we got it, and was like, God, I think our purchase price was like 130k, which at the time we're like, we'd only offered 115, and it's Central Crewe, and I'm going, what's the GDV on that's going to be? And we haven't even gotten plans together. Next thing we know, we're buying it. I'm trying to run around trying to find the money for bridging. Bridging. This is 2019, so we're running around going, we're going to find the money. Trying to work with a broker, putting plans together, seeing what we can get out of there. We're trying to get 7 bedrooms. We've got 8 bed, 8 bath at the end of it, and this goes into my 190 square meters, 2,000 square foot. It was just around that, around that size. So it worked well, and I think. But I look back now, my learnings were, we were listening a bit to other people going, well, you're going to buy it, don't put your planning application until you've bought it, because you might be wasting money. So we were like, well, let's buy it, and we had it ready to go, and then we put the planning application in
6 months later.
Yeah. After we'd bought it, I think we bought it in the August. The next thing we know, in the September, it got called in by the local councillors, so it had to go to committee in the November. And we've never had anything called in since, but Anna turned up with the architect, and they were sort of fighting our corner, and it was very interesting. It was like these people making a decision on what could it be your livelihood, not really understanding anything to do with planning or law, and it was more Conservatives versus Labour.
Yeah.
So the Conservatives were like, the people they know were all, yeah, we'll accept it. And then Labour were like, no, we don't want it. We want to come round and have a look and see what it is. And it was like, again, we were like, and there was an independent going, I don't know what to do. So it was quite interesting. I think it went through like 6-3 in our favour, but it was completely messy. And I think when you realise that something goes to committee and the people don't understand anything. They remember this wasn't Article 4 at the time. There was no local policy to stop it. It was just the councillor called in because they thought, I don't want to do, and they thought these stupid ideas that it's going to be like lots of either for asylum seekers, and like, no, it's a professional HMO. It's just going to be for Eastern Europeans, I think was the comment. Actually in the local around there, you were like, how can they get away with staying, stuff like that. And you went, God. And I remember going, I hope they're not all going to be like this. Luckily they weren't, but we got it through. But then at that point you're going, right, okay, we've got planning, what do we do? Then we've got to do the build. And by the time we'd sort of gone round and you're new to the market, you don't know about builders, and we're down in Crewe, and I can say that it's a tougher market down in Crewe finding builders, because in Manchester, Warrington, Stockport, then you've got much more builders and probably people that we'd be able to get recommendations off. In Crewe, it was more of a challenge, and I think by the time we were ready to go, it was March, and we started the build 1 week before the country went into lockdown. So we started it 1 week later, the country went into lockdown. So you can imagine that was quite a challenging time with that going on. So we had the challenges of COVID getting through there, but the builders were pretty good to get through. Luckily, there wasn't too much extra work for them to do, really. There wasn't a lot of other jobs, and I think we were able to get there just because of maybe COVID actually was in our favour, and they were pretty good builders. They didn't down tools and stuff, and they wanted to get paid. So COVID in the end probably wasn't a big issue for us, because I ended up buying another project as well before, probably in the January, which I used SAS money for. So I can cover that in a bit. And with that one, they just jumped on and started on that second. Again, another 8-bed, 7-bath we did in Crewe. But I'll be honest with you, lockdown was a bit of COVID at the start was actually a blessing in disguise for us, because we were looking to grow, and we decided commercial was our route. And I was looking during COVID, and there wasn't many other people looking, and trying to get hold of agents was tough. They weren't working. They didn't want to take you around any property. And if they did, they threw a set of keys out the window at you to go around and look by. That's what happened to me.
Really?
Well, So
spray disinfectant on them before you pass them back.
Well, it was basically what happened. And I was looking at another one from there. And this is timings, and this is that, things happen for a reason. I remember we went and bought another one. Actually ended up buying 2 in Stockport within 6 weeks of each other. So we bought this one, which were a bigger 13-bed that we've got, and we bought it for under 200k, which is ridiculous now to think of that. And another one we bought in Stockport, where I'd seen it for a year and a half. It'd been on the market for a year and a half. I'd rung up twice, and it goes, no, it's under offer and stuff. I said, well, why is it still on the website? And he goes, well, it hasn't completed. So I said, okay, that's fine. But there's a message here. It's like, so I was like, okay, right. And I went, so I kept on seeing it appeared, and maybe it was maybe nearly 2 years later, it was still in there. I clicked on it, and so it was about 5 months into COVID. I clicked on it, and I saw it updated it, going 10-bed, 10-bath, planning approved. And I went, why has he put that in? So I rang him up. He goes, oh yeah, I got planning like a week ago, and it's fallen out. The person was trying to do apartments. He did the HMO application. He doesn't want to buy it now. I was going, so he's got 10-bed, 10-bath already approved. And I said, yeah. He goes, do you want to see it? I was like, yeah. Keys out the window, look round, I'll have that. And that's that.
You bought that for 200.
So I bought that one for 195,500. Bought the other one for 9.
That was planning for a 10-bed.
Planning for a 10-bed. And that goes down to always keep consistent, always look at deals. And we bought those. So we had one at 13-bed we were going through planning, but when we had 10, so that was great, because we were like, let's do the 10-bed, 10-bath. We can crack on and do that. And yeah, we picked up that for under 200 in Stockport. So, it's all about, maybe luck. I'd rung up twice before, rang up again, and dealing with these agents, and they're like, yeah, of course. Yeah, it's available. I'm like, when? about a week ago, and obviously everyone's probably the same boat.
Yeah.
Luck of the draw, and I was able to get first bat at that. So it's all about looking for deals, looking at your areas, and just following up.
Yeah, I mean that it sounds like as well. You went from that first deal, which took quite a while, to really just stacking up your pipeline of projects.
It was stacking up, but it's work that we've really only ever done one and started another one near the end. It's been we've not had occasionally we've had two on for a period like 6 to 8 weeks, but we're putting too much pressure on Anna to go to both sites, and obviously I'm really flexible and I do stuff obviously for the business, but I'm still got a core job. So, and Anna's been doing everything end to end. So managing the builder, we're doing the lettings and stuff. I get involved, but with the tenant stuff. But actually managing the tenants all really down to Anna. So especially the early days, it's all been down to what we can do and bandwidth, and we could handle that. But sometimes the timings have worked okay. It wasn't always planned, or we were trying to get things through. But we've literally gone from one project to another project to another project. We've tried to time it. It's just worked like that. If we'd done 2 projects and moving into another 2, I think that would have killed us.
Really?
We'd either drop the ball. People might take, working with a builder. Sometimes the builder wants to see you that moment. Can you come in today? You've got to come in and stuff like that. Or you see challenges with the builder saying, I'm not happy on this. I need to come and see you today. What are you going to juggle? What are you going to do? Unless and to a certain degree, sometimes we've had developments that have been 2 in the same town. That's worked well. But just imagine us buying one in Warrington, one in Crewe or something like that.
Yeah.
How are you going to manage? It would be too much. You're putting too much pressure on people to deliver like that. It'd be easier if I was obviously involved day to day, being able to get out. But that's how it's worked. And we've probably just been quite fortunate. We have tried to plan it like that, but it doesn't always work like that.
And that very first property deal that you did, you got it accepted. You completed on it in August. It took until March for you to start on the work.
Correct. And then we got our first tenant in the following August. So
it was a full 12 months.
Yeah. So, but he worked quite quickly. Probably we did it in 5 months. The development and bed above. So for us, that's a good period.
Is that the prep work beforehand that people don't realise? We've had properties that we've put planning applications in June, and we're filming this in December, and we've just had planning approved last week.
Yeah.
So just that alone takes forever. I mean, coming back to that first deal that you did and how long that took, what would you advise anybody getting into this? What was maybe some of the mistakes that you made? How would you do it differently this time to make it more efficient?
So if I was to do it this time, I would be working harder to get with the plans with the architect to get it out. At the time, we could have forced things through with even building regs, getting quotes. Remember, at the time, you could actually you could have done the building works subject to planning, and you can't do it now. But given now scenario, what I would do is I would have got that planning application in well before we've completed, and I'd already be sounding out builders, trying to get interest, and we didn't do any of that until right at the end. Because we thought, we'll mess people around or get the interest and stuff. We've never done a project before, and will people be interested in us? And I think we saw stepping stones, but they weren't really stepping stones. They could have been done in parallel, and I think I would definitely be looking to get a planning application in ASAP once you're comfortable with the architect or working with planning consultants or getting the surveys done and depending on which council you're at. Also, working very closely with the builder, trying to speak to them, look at their developments, see what they're doing. Go just start speaking to people, speak to other investors, and trying to find out what's there. And we left that there. And I think in hindsight, if things had worked out quicker, we'd have finished the project 4 or 5 months earlier, which is massive. It's not just the cost of if you've got any finance and stuff like that. We lost out on 5 months rent, and 5 months rent on that was well over 3k. Yeah. So you look at just 15k lost on per month. So you're looking at just on there at the time. So got 16,000-17,000 in lost rent and all the other costs. So it's a learning. I think we don't do that now, but you don't know what you don't know. So
No, exactly.
just people aren't going to advise you because if they're part of your team, they'll wait to get called. But there's no one, if you've not got a mentor or someone you're following or that's got time for you, you're not always going to think the bigger picture, and it's about thinking the bigger picture.
Absolutely. You said that your second deal you bought using a SAS pension.
Yes. Yeah.
A lot of people who watch this, or maybe not a lot of people, but there will be a few people who have SAS pensions or just pensions in general who maybe are coming close to retirement or are retiring and maybe want to utilise their pension better. Talk to me about what you did to buy that property using a pension and how that works.
Yeah, so I went to a presentation done on SAS in London when I was working down there, probably 2018, and someone had just done. He'd been using SAS pensions to purchase properties. I didn't know anything about it. I knew it had a private pension, and I was just wondering how it worked, and learned very quickly that it was basically like a trust. So you can set something up that you're not setting up just for yourself and your wife or whoever, but your family. So your children will inherit this and whatever's in there, and you won't lose it. So normally your pension would die with potentially you going or your wife, and that goes, and it's not something you can pass on to your children. That's the bit that grabbed me first, and I realised, oh, so this is, you can invest it in property and take all and it's tax free, and so I can buy. Oh, you can even get SAS pensions, SAS mortgages. And I was going, ooh, so I can buy commercial, and I wasn't thinking about lending to there. So that's the bit that the first part of the presentation, I was going, oh, this seems why are most people not doing it? And then you hear these interesting stats like, that there's 15 million pensions. There's like 1 million people with a SIP pensions, but there was only like 70,000 people with SAS pensions. I was going, okay, but and you realise how powerful it was, and then you realise that actually I can lend that money to individuals as well. And I was going, okay. I was like, how am I going to benefit? And then you realise, no, you can use half your pot to lend to your company, as long as you do a first charge on a property. Then you can lend yourself. So first charge, I could buy a property all cash, and I'm like, what's the catch? And there didn't seem to be. And I was like, let's do it. And I was very, very lucky as well. Against time, some people are taking like a year, 18 months to do a SAS, and I was like, oh God, I've got a purchase that's going through. How quickly can I set up a SAS up? I set my SAS up in 12 weeks. And anyone's ever doing any SAS, I'd say write to your pension fund when you set it up, and because it gets set up at HMRC probably in about 3 weeks. You write a letter saying, I want to do it, remove my funds, and I want it to be done straight away. And luckily I went through. Also, you have to get a financial advisor to sign off on this, and I went through a whole life, what I'm trying to do with this guy. The recommendation had to be for me to move into property. It was the right thing to do. He said, no, don't recommend it. So I remember the recommendation that came through, and I looked at it and went, what have you done that for? And I realised, and then I spoke to the trust fund I was using and for the pension, for the SAS, and they went, yeah, don't worry about that. You've gone through and done what the HMRC want. Even though he's recommended it, I went, oh, that's fine. He said no, and they do it because of their PI insurance, because they're worried about getting sued. So I was really lucky. It was set up 12 weeks end to end, and I was able to get the money literally within 2 weeks. So I had to get my own person out to value. They were like, doing your own value, it's unheard of, really. And who am I making a SAS? A SAS is made out to the lender, and they did it and they valued it, and the rest was it. But the funds from deciding to go there was less than 2 weeks. So if you've got, and that's how quickly you can move. So that if I buy something at auction and I'm comfortable, I know I can get a valuation. My SAS would work in that month thing, or getting things done, and that, and also it's such a great thing. I could lend myself and borrow 50% if I wanted to. Who's getting that 50%? Me. So I'm spending money to go back into my pot.
Yeah.
It's complete win-win. So there is no downsides of doing using SaaS, because all the money that you spend on interest is going back into your SaaS pot for you to re-spend again.
Yeah.
And also when you lend money out, I think SaaS has been the most powerful tool that I've had to grow my networking side to get support. So what I mean by that, I was sat there at that period when I'd done my first 2 or 3 going, how do I grow quicker? Networking's out. I'm still working. How can I go there? I was looking at people on the internet to see who's out there, Facebook, seeing there, Instagram, who's there, who's doing similar type stuff from us, who's that 2 years down the line more than me, or someone that I can relate to. And I hooked up with them, and I did that and used my SaaS money to lend money to them. And do you know what? You make friends very quickly.
Yeah.
And they are still, when vice versa, lending money to each other and using that sort of network, but lend lots of money to certain individuals, couple key people. And they're the biggest people that I can just call and get experience. Or who's your who do you use here as part of your power team? I need a new solicitor. Oh, I've got an issue with a broker. Go through here. Who do you use? No, I know that, and I know they're X amount still further ahead of us, and they're happy to give all their power team out. They would help. They're not in the same northwest as me necessarily, but they still get your power team or give you support. I've got this issue, but also they can help you with other people and networking. And once they're known, and they're it really helped. I think just moving us along and feeling comfortable, and it's connecting with the right people. It's not necessarily just them; it's who they know. And when other people know that you know them and they've got an interest and you're working together, people go, oh, right, okay, so there's a connection there. So, it's been really good in that respect.
Yeah, absolutely. So the SaaS pension then is essentially, just to kind of summarise what you said, is a private pension that you can set up with a financial advisor to kind of create a tax-free pension pot that you can also dip into to purchase properties.
Yes, it's without the financial advisor. You've got to have a financial. It's completely separate. You are independent. So there's no one. So once you set up, you've got it's you in control. You can have a SaaS provider who is more looking from a HMRC perspective to make sure you're hitting the guidelines. So not taking money out of the account because it's 55% tax. So that so you can manage your own SaaS, but it's a nightmare. I wouldn't suggest
just to make sure that you do it right.
Do it right. So they're in there, and there's a small amount you need to pay them yearly for that. But they'll also mark your homework, and you have to fill out forms to lend and for you to borrow. No, they're more tick boxing. Yeah. But ultimately, there isn't anything. I can do anything from buying wine to buying gold. And there are some SaaS providers that let you do crypto and all sorts. It's such a very, I'm like, no, I'm happy lending and do that, but it's such a wide thing. But I think the bigger thing is, because you've set up a trust and it's a SaaS, you can add your children to there when they're 18. So basically they'll all inherit it. There's no tax in that. The government can't get that at the moment unless they change the laws. But, it's attractive for generational wealth.
Yeah.
And I think that's the key thing. And no, there is no financial advisor in there. There are, Mark Stokes has got an amazing book. So I would say he's probably one of the top 2 or 3 in the country with Understanding SaaS, and he's got a couple of books. So I definitely recommend that.
Yeah.
I got his books, and he gives examples of some of the stuff he does, but also really explains it in detail, explains the governance around there and what you need to do and what you're signing off on. And I think because it is a complicated area, I would definitely read up about it. But once you've done that, and you've got, I think one of the things I would say, it's probably not worth doing unless you've got 100k in your pot, because there are lending money and doing stuff. It's probably, I think that would be what I would see. Anything past that, it's definitely worth doing.
Yeah.
Past that, I say it's a powerful tool, and you would definitely grow your pension pot much quicker than you will do a private pension. You can lend your money out quicker and do stuff, because you think about returns you get today, but then you're having to pay sort of a pension administrator, and they charge you 25-30% and doing stuff like that. You haven't got those big costs and stuff like that. So yeah.
Okay. And then so you can get this set up. Obviously, speak to, for anyone listening or watching that wants to get this set up, speak to a SaaS pension provider and an advisor to kind of help get it all set up. Don't want to kind of get into almost like lost in the nitty gritty of getting it set up. But then just to kind of reiterate the highlight things that are really beneficial, you've got something that you can pass on to family.
Yep.
Tax-free if you were to pass away. Are you able to pull funds from other pension pots into it? If you,
yes.
So if you've got a current pension set up, you could say, right, let's move that
as many
and
pots
move it
as you
into
want. Yeah, there are
my SAS.
Yeah, so there are the only ones that don't allow it. There are some things that maybe like a teacher pension and some other stuff like that. Some of the government ones, not all of them.
But some of them you can move it over.
Yeah, some they won't let you because it's not technically a private one. But if you're outside that, all private pensions they allow. The trouble is trying to make them to do it because they're not keen. They're not keen necessarily to do it because they're losing business, and they'll give you a runaround. I was very lucky with who I was with, just to basically say, no, I'm doing that. Wrote some hard-hitting letters, and it worked. Yeah. As long as I'm signing my life away, and they're going, right, fine, do whatever. So, yeah.
Okay, and then, so let's say you've been able to set it up, you've moved your pension pot, or you've been able to put some funds into a SaaS pension. What can I do if I've set that up? If we wanted to work together on some property deals, what can I do and why is it beneficial to me? Just to kind of give people a bit of a context to some examples of how it could work.
So if you've set something up and you were looking to, so you personally, let's just say you were buying a project and you wanted to pay cash for something you found in Wigan. So go okay. That house is 100 grand. I'm going to pay it. I can pay it cash. I can move straight away. Think of all the bridging costs and stuff like that. Just off that, you're saving about 16, 17k.
Yeah.
So I factored in just using it. If you were to buy that, so all the costs, once you paid their solicitor costs, doing stuff, and then you borrowed that money for a year, you're not going to have much change out of 20k. Just on something like that. So that would be, for you, it's a massive save. So for me, that was the first thing. Also, you're able to lend the money. Now you can lend 50% of your pot, or actually anything you want, up to 100% of your pot to individuals. You can only borrow yourself 50% unless you're buying for a company or you're buying your own asset you're going to use as a company, which you can buy 100% of. But
so just to kind of give a bit of again an example into that. So if I was talking about a residential house that I wanted to purchase, that one in Wigan, £100,000, let's say,
you can use as long as you've got 200k.
I'd need 200k in my SAS pension. I'd pull out 100. I could buy that property cash, and then I pay myself back. For example, I could pay myself the bridging interest rates.
Correct.
And put 20 grand into this, so it becomes 220 the pot.
Yeah, or if you're like, things are a bit tight and I'm like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah, just don't.
The minimum you can pay is like, I think it's 1.75% above base. Okay. So that'll be, so you go, things are a bit tight. I don't want to pay like about 8k, don't that, because I'm still going to have to pay it back after the end. Yeah. So no, you can do that. Remember, it's your pension pot. Okay. What you can do on the flip side is, I'm going to lend, I've got 100k to lend. So I'm going, right, what do I want to do? Yeah, I'll lend to someone and he wants a house in Wigan, or he's got a house in Oldham and I want that. I'll lend you 100 grand. I want first charge. You don't have to, but I would recommend first charge. I haven't always lent at first charge, but that's because I've got to know the person. But I think first off, for security purposes, I would always say do a first charge. But it depends on your risk appetite. But I
first charge for anyone, just for anyone who's listening and who doesn't quite know, first charge is like the equivalent sort of security as a mortgage. Yeah, it's like the primary lender who gets first kind of control over the property. So if it was to be sold, then they would be the first ones to get paid back. If payments weren't getting made, they have the power to repossess the property, then sell it and recoup the money. So first charge is like ultimate security.
That's giving us ultimate security. You get ultimate security. And they will be in the same boat. Well, that's going to cost me 20 grand. You're going to go to them. Well, I'll give you it for 10 grand. And by the way, or 15 grand. So even 15 grand is 20. The key thing is for them is that it's less than a bridging, but you can give them every single penny of that purchase price. And they've not had to put any of their own money in. So they can use that money maybe to do a redevelopment or maybe that. So there's such a win-win for them. You're getting there, and obviously from you're going to go, yeah, I can grow my pension box. But it could be someone in the same scenario as me that's a little bit further along the journey from you, and you really want to network and get there and build that friendship and doing stuff. And you know, I think unofficially that goes on probably 90% of the time. And that's what people do, and that's what we've done. So it's a win from a relationship perspective. B, you're growing your pot, and C, if things go sour, I've got first charge on that property.
Yeah.
So you're covering all base angles, but you're looking long term, and again, it goes down to relationships. So it's definitely it's very, very powerful personally for your yourself, your company, and also your brand, and also just networking, growing. So that's what we've done for SaaS. So I say it's been a game changer.
Yeah, I think SaaSes are really, really powerful tools, and really appreciate kind of sharing your insights into that. Just to go back to your portfolio, your journey, and more to give people context to you and your portfolio. How many HMOs do you actually have at the moment?
So at the moment we own 11.
How many rooms does that make up?
Well, there's only 7. There's 7 completed. We own 11 properties. So at the moment we've got 65 rooms, but we've got 55 rooms coming through.
Wow.
And then obviously we've got 2 commercial units. Also we've got a flat as well being built off the back of something else. So we're doing a 2-bed, 2-bath in Stockport off the back of a HMO. So that's a really exciting project right in the centre of Stockport in Hillgate. So we're expanding, changing course of direction for a lot of the stuff that we're doing. So yes, we're trying to mix and match, and say apartments to starting to do. We've got commercial units. We're doing the bigger rooms I've touched on, and some studios and stuff. And we've tried to sort of evolve with the times and get seeing where the market goes and what our tenant demand is. And
across the whole portfolio, how much money do you make?
So last month we were just over 44k. So that's just off 65 rooms. So I think with all the stuff that we've got coming through, and there's some big rooms, we're going to be comfortably, I think we'll be comfortably around the sort of getting towards the 100k mark.
Wow.
Because so a lot of the rooms that we've come, so some of the rooms in Crewe we're getting like 550. Obviously ones in Stockport we get rooms. So we rented. So we've got some of the new ones that have come through in Stockport and Heaton Chapel. We've got the rooms for 895.
What? 895?
Yeah, and this is the target market that we're sort of doing.
Yeah.
So a lot of the stuff. So we got one in, just for example, in Stockport that it's a grade 2 listed building right in the middle there. We know we're going to, by the time that's done in a year and a half, it's going to be £900 a room.
Yeah.
So when I pro rata and saying that the 54 rooms that I've got coming through are going to earn much more than the 65 that I've got today. So I know if you're earning 45k today, we're going to earn 100k. So within 2 years, we're turning over 100k a month. 1.2 million. Yeah, that's a chunky business.
Yeah.
For anyone, and it's attainable and doing stuff. And we've bought these buildings, so that's the other thing. We've bought them and they're going through planning. So we're just about to drop on the 2 in Warrington. Hopefully next month is looking good. We're grade 2 listed building in Stockport. It's going to take a little bit more longer. We've had to do a pre-app. It's grade 2 listed. Work with the conservation officer. Challenges there. They're going to support the application. That's great, but they just want us to do a couple of changes. Those are those, interesting, slightly different building, quirky stuff. Again, that one was sat there for a year, but we've picked up at a great price. Give that example, we bought it for 385. But we're getting 15 bath and 2-bed, 2-bath in central Stockport in Hillgate, and that's going to be a 1.5 valuation. So people say the deals aren't out there. That was just sat there for a year.
Wow.
And I'd seen that, but just didn't have the money. And then we'd go through and do stuff. But again, grade 2 listed is not for everyone. I would not be recommending it for all. But just having that vision, understanding then they sat there, there's a reason. And the buildings that we do, I think, goes back to why don't you do residential or 4 or 5? But they're family homes. We're doing buildings that have got no need, and there isn't that commercial element in that particular part of town. But there is a residential need, and if there's a block of apartments that have been built nearby, just next door, so there is residential allowed in those areas, and you think, well, if I'm helping change that part of that town, and there's a building unloved, and we're bringing it back to life. Should be win-win for any council doing so there, and then putting a really nice finish to it. Obviously from us it's advantageous, but also these aren't buildings or that are being used for anything else at the moment. And I think if there was, people will be snapping them up.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think with the residential stuff, you can run the risk of what people say overdeveloping a house. You can really rinse out. Like there's some big properties out there which are great for HMOs, but sometimes you see some of these like 2-bed, 3-bed terrace houses that have been rinsed into 6-7-bed HMOs with extensions, attic conversions, basement conversions. It's just sometimes it can feel
it can feel
a bit much.
It can do. Having said that, I understand how to do it, and obviously we've done like 2 really like that, but it's worked out okay. But I think the bigger thing is to do with where you buy, and it's quite tricky. So how can I buy in an area that's more rentable around there, and you haven't got a family area, because you could call resentment to do with got families either side. Your planning application, you're trying to go big. I know someone's had like 45 complaints when they put a planning application in of Zika. So look, we never got that.
Yeah.
So I understand in those areas, HMOs probably aren't the best things. But obviously, if you're doing 6-bed, 6-bath, and it's not an article, they can't stop you.
Yeah.
But if you're doing the bigger ones and doing stuff, maybe not. But to be honest with you, I don't have any issue with people choosing the right areas to do residential, because there's a need for HMOs, and then people should do them. But I think if you're trying to get a lot out of the building and trying to sort of it doesn't fit in the keeping of the area, then obviously you've got a tenant around the family area or not. It's just something to be aware of. Just know your location, know your area before you go and do anything.
And for anybody who's listening to this thinking you're going to be on £100,000 a month rent roll, you've got all these HMOs, some amazing projects. You're doing this alongside a full-time job. I know you've got Anna working on the business, but you're doing some really exciting things considering you really started to kick into gear 2019, 2020. What advice could you give to somebody who maybe is listening to this and thinking, man, I want to get into some big projects?
Yeah, so just taking a step back, obviously, let's just say we get there in 2 years, which is what we looked at. That's still 7 years.
Yeah.
I've started our first one in 2020, March, so end of 2024. So 2 years we'd be there. So it's not an overnight thing. So what are you thinking? So to get with what are you doing for 6 years? How are you doing it? You could probably go quicker than us, and that's not an issue, because if there's more than just one person in the business. I think we've only just taken on our full member of staff, so taking away the day-to-day managing, and he's brilliant, and he's come on, and we're looking to grow the business when we've got our office, and we're there. And I think I would, if I was on day one and I was like starting again, I think I would definitely go to as many property networking events. And they take that's 20 quid to go to some of these. And I tell you what, you just put yourself out there. Now, it's not, you've got to put yourself out. It is uncomfortable going to a room, going to some of these first events, because no one knows you.
Yeah.
But people get to know you quickly. And you do always normally get 30 seconds background on someone that, present and say, oh, yeah, I'm here looking for this or whatever. Go to those events, because you will see people in the room that X amount further than you. Find out their company, what they're doing. They'll be on social media. Have a look, see what they're doing. Also, there's other opportunities where if I was doing it full time, I would look around and trying to find out. I would look at mentorship. I haven't needed mentorship, but my mentorship's come in informally with lending money and not needed it. I've got someone to call on. I've not needed like weekly check-in calls, but I have needed occasionally just like maybe a pickup call or see what you're doing and get a bit of a spur. That's definitely needed in anything. But if I was to fast track myself, I would say look for a mentor, but be very careful. You don't want to. You want to get the right person who's done the same journey as you. I've got people that have done like HMOs, and I go, yeah, I've got my mentor, and I go, they're an SA person.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then they're coming to us for advice, and we're like, but you're paying for mentorship, and they're coming to us for, how do you do this and stuff? And we're like, okay, because that at the moment, that's something we're probably going to get more into, but we haven't really been doing it because we don't have the bandwidth, and I can't be doing mentorship. I can't be doing
Yeah.
mentorship because it'd be false economies. We'd take the money and not offer the service, and we'd get a bad name. So that's the reason why you've got to be committed. But I would look around mentorship. I would 100% go to the areas you're thinking of doing, and I would walk around, get a feel for the area. Also understand what other people look at the HMO map, seeing what other planning applications have been done, but also look at the HMO register and see where HMOs in that area. Try and maybe even go in spare room, do a bit of look round, see how other people are presenting their rooms, see what your target is, what your competition's going to be like. Can I beat that? What look around spare room, see who's looking. You can do a search, see who's looking how many rooms available. You want to have a demand that that exceeds supply, basically. So you want 100 people looking in only 20 rooms. You go, right, okay, that's my area, and do something. You want to check to see if Article 4's come in, and if it's in there. I wouldn't start off in an Article 4 area and some of the challenges there. Also, you got to look about local planning and see if they've got anything around that might stop HMO after HMO. But once you've done that groundwork, then the key thing is just around finding the deal. Find the deal, and the money will come. Because when you've got no plan B, if you found a deal, do you know what? You'll find the money. Because when you've got plan A, that's all I'm working to. You'll find that mum and dad might have some money. Your friend might have to tell people what you're doing. Just communicate. Get yourself active on social media. Get yourself looking at, get yourself out there and start learning. And then when you start, you just need to tell someone. You don't know. Someone could be one of your friends could be sat with 100 grand. They didn't know what to do with it. And you could go, look, give me a first charge. And you explain to them, look, your money's secured against this property. I'm going to do a refurb on that. I've got the money for the refurb. Go for it. I'll get your money back. And you go, wow, I never knew that. Because the reason you didn't know, because you didn't ask the question.
Yeah.
And that's what I would do. You need to get yourself out there, get out of the comfort level, start telling everyone you're a property investor. That's what we look to do. And then it's interesting how doors will open. And that's what I would look to do. And the network as quickly as possible, and just try and follow the footpaths of people further along the journey from something that I want to do. See what they're doing. Go, I want to do something similar. Put my own sort of spin on it, and do something original. I wouldn't copy ever like for like, but you can see stuff and do that. And that's how you learn.
Absolutely. Do you know what? It's really interesting. I want to pick up on two things you just said. One was around there's a lot of get out there, just get and do it. So many people will come to me and say, what I'm doing right now, how do I do that? And they might be watching this or listening to this thinking, Chris, you're doing some amazing projects here. How do I do that? And they look at your step 10 and think, how do you do that? And the reality is they need to be looking at your step 1 and think, how do they do that? Rather than jumping into, how do I get this 15-bed HMO with a commercial unit underneath it? They need to be thinking, okay, what did you do to get started?
Yes.
Go to a training event.
Yeah, go to a training event.
And then go and view some properties.
Yeah, go view some
properties. Connect with some agents.
Yeah.
Connect with a mentor. All these different things that you did in the build-up, it starts there first. Mm-hmm. The other thing is that loads of people I know, including myself, kind of once you've achieved some level of success in a field, one of the main things that people always recommend is getting around people. The difference that it makes with getting around other people, and like you say, finding a mentor, and that doesn't necessarily need to be I pay you 12 grand and you support me for a year through my property journey. It could be I'll give you 100 grand as a loan to do your next deal. Can I just shadow you as you do the deal, and I'll get a small return for that? And there's loads of ways you can add value.
And I feel that's much better because you're getting something back. And I see some people that have been charging 700, 800 quid a month, and then people are complaining to us, I'm charging this person, and I'm in a group of 30 people. I'm thinking, he's doing quite well, or he or she. I'm going, but what are they offering you? Because you're coming to me or are interested in us and the design, or you're trying to find who our valuer is. How do you do that? And we're going, well, you've made a mistake there. And I think, but you've just got to be careful. If you're going to commit to that, be 100%. And if you're happy doing that, that's fine. It wouldn't be for us. I know that it's quicker to get in with someone and do something like that. Lend you 100, you got a charge, or get to work. Go to. If someone's doing it, if I was the other big thing is what's very powerful is to see stuff. So if I went to see a project someone's doing and that's the next level, say it was like a 13 or 15, but someone came out, that would be wow for them. When it come out, people's eyes would just be blown open. But that's inspirational.
Yeah.
What price do you put on that? Or someone who's giving you mentorship, and I'm not sure really what they're doing. I'm not sure the last time they did a project. You know, we're out doing stuff and doing stuff. And again, you know, the industry is very interesting, property industry, because I don't think I've ever seen someone doing loads of big projects and doing mentorship, and they're doing training and they're doing stuff. You can't be doing everything. And I think
seems to be one or the other.
It seems to be one or you can do, or you get caught in between. You know, we're in the projects and that's what we're doing and stuff like that. And fully respect other people in their areas, just not necessarily our niche, because I haven't got the time to do it. But I know, and I think 90% of people would get something out of going to see a development, seeing what the art of the possible, and going, wow. And they're out doing that. And go, how do you do it? No, I just went out there. Was this hidden? I said, no, it was available for 3 years. You go,
Yeah.
And they go, well, just go and view buildings and do stuff. Oh, how do we do it? Oh, I'll help you and do stuff, you know, because you get so much out of that and stuff. And I think that's been the most powerful. And that's something I definitely recommend and do. So everyone's going to go out there, go and see those big projects and stuff.
Yeah, I think the way that you can learn from people is, I think, if you can add value to them, then they'll be able to reciprocate value to you. And I think one of the things for me, loads of people come to me and say, why do you not do mentoring? Loads of people ask me if they can pay me to mentor them. I just say, I would rather, given that same example, I'd rather you lend me 100 grand and I'll go do a deal. You shadow me for the deal, learn everything that you need to learn, end to end.
Yep.
I'll give you your money back. And I'll give you 8 grand as an interest. So you've made money rather than spent money. You've also learned, and I've been able to go do a deal.
And you see where your money is as well. Yeah, so it's a win-win.
And
you know,
like,
that's what,
I'd rather that exchange of value
Yeah.
than you pay me to just tell you some things.
Yeah,
then you've spent money, I've gained money, and just told you some stuff. I'd rather, let's get together, let's do a project. You'll learn, I'll get a deal done. And everybody wins, and I imagine you're probably the same.
I'm there, but that's only just come out of experience and knowledge in the way it's going. And I think at the beginning we were very self-sufficient. I'd had some funds and we were recycling our money, and I felt we knew where we were going. But you never know it. I know 5% of it really. You know, you've got you. Anyone who says they know more and doing stuff, I'm like, I get a bit nervous, because really there's so much out there, and I've only seen the tip of the iceberg. But if I look and see how I would, you know, how I get inspired. I get inspired with people doing bigger and better stuff, or I mean, maybe people doing apartments or bigger, but then go, well, that's the next level, you know, maybe that's what we're going to go do next, that's what I'd like to do. And you get and you follow those journey and see where they're going. But yeah, there is nothing you can put a price you can put on going to seeing development, going on that journey end to end with someone, and being allowed to go to site as regularly as you want, weekly, monthly, going through, you see it end to end and go, you feel like you've been there end to end, and then you can know. Also, you know, as you said, you get your money back. You've seen the development going through, but also you've learned so much. And you know, it's not as much as getting your hand held. You can still get that, but it's giving that inspired. And there's nothing that, you know. I've said at the beginning, a bit of a risk taker. My stuff at the beginning had been, is this the right area? Yes, it is. Is this the right property? Yes. Am I comfortable that's going to be my end value? Just about, within reason. Ooh, you've got all these steps to get there. So many. How are you going to get from there to there? I'm going to worry about that, because I'm going to sort of learn as I go, because you will never be perfect at doing that. So how can you get perfect if you're never going to do it? Yeah. So and people can advise and do stuff, but every property deal is different. Every project's different. But you will learn the tools by doing it end to end. People can help you and assist you, but there's nothing like doing things end to end. You might as well do your learnings and your expensive mistakes by watching someone.
Yeah, absolutely. Just before we finish up, I know you said you were aiming in the next couple of years, once all the deals that you've got going on come to an end, to be on about 100,000 a month. But what does 5 years look like for you and Anna, Chris?
Yeah. So we're already sort of thinking ahead, and I think for us we're sort of well over we'll be well over 100 HMO rooms, getting towards 150 HMO rooms. And I think we'll always do a bit of HMO stuff and things like that, I think, but we were looking around what else is out there, and just we were thinking, we want to do bigger stuff off HMOs. What we're going to do is really going to be apartment blocks and stuff like that, and the bigger stuff. And that's got our interest at the moment. So I think, maybe in the next 12 months, because you've got to have that pipeline, we'll start looking and trying to move to do that. But we might try and mix and match some projects where they're the bigger ones. We might be able to do sort of, some 6-bed HMO cluster units. But I think apartments is something that we're looking at, especially in the areas that we target, where having spoke very closely to the council, it was very interesting, speaking to one, we spoke to the deputy head of planning who came to site because he was very interested in the project. He said, look, we want apartments. We want 1, 2, 3 beds. That's and they look at their planning policy. That's what they're proactively supporting. And you're going, well, actually, one of the things we can do is you think about the challenges I've just talked about, 9, 12 months for planning. You're like, what do I want to do? How can I move quicker? A bigger project, but I could move quicker. And how would you do that? You could do something like an office to resi development, where you can do PD rights and you can do apartments, so I can get planning very quickly in 56 days by doing that. So there are other routes to market where you can change things around, because HMOs are, not always the council's favourite, but there are new planning, and there are going to be new planning laws coming through. So watch this space. I think in the next 6 months, Labour are going to change things and stuff. I'm not quite sure what's going to happen, but I think it's going to be hopefully easier. But at the moment, I think if you can get a bigger office, doing PD, less time, less cost, doing there, the GDV might not stack for apartments in some ways, but you're saving time if you want to move quickly. So they're the type of things we're looking to do. But look, once you've got the property bug, and we have, if I say, like, is that a stopping stuff? Not a chance. To some ways, I always feel like we've only just started and start going, and I think, you might do one area, you might do HMOs, you might do apartments, but you'll get really into those. Like apartments, we probably know 2% of it, development stuff. We've been in property doing development stuff, and you've got a new journey learning. We might do SA off the back of that, and there's so many different things. You've got standard buy-to-let. There are different things. Something like that might be more attractive to people, because you've got to look about other things that are going through. You've got this renters reform bill that might come through. It's going to be quite challenging around tenants staying long term, because they're going to be able to treat it like an SA when they can give notice on the first day and get in and out. So how's that going to work? I know it's not law yet. I think it will change, but you've got to understand where the market's going, understand what the government are thinking, and try and plan accordingly, so you're minimising your risk. So I think apartments seems like quite a logical step to us. And also from a personal point of view, and you shouldn't always have this, it's like, your heart ruling your head. From a heart perspective, some of these office blocks and buildings are just beautiful, and a lot of our stuff has been quite nice looking, and I think we want to have some, once you get to a certain level, we want to have an aesthetically looking building, as long as it stacks. That'll be a beautiful building. I'd love to bring that back to life, and we're doing that for one of the ones in Warrington, a bit HMO, but I know there's other ones where the offices have got, that's a great building. And the great thing about the offices, they normally come with parking. They've got that outside space, so you some of the key things that you do need, you don't always get with HMOs. They come with, they're normally in good locations, central town, doing stuff like that. So there's lots of tick boxes and stuff like that. They're just a higher price point. But it's something, that's how I would see the next 5 years going, getting more into those. But yeah, definitely property related and just sort of cracking on. But we are also doing a little bit more on the letting side. So we've set up our own company. So we've got first person in. So we're doing Parkhurst lettings. So we probably have different affiliates of Parkhurst properties coming out. And then we'll probably build up a lettings side. So we're going to pick up a lettings business. So that's what we're looking to do in Warrington. And then we're going to build our own power team locally. So our own maintenance, our own cleaner team. So another thing that comes up there, everything's going to be in-house. We've kept everything in-house what we can do, but we've now got our own property manager. We're going to get other people in, and we want to expand that business, because one of the key things, we've never wanted to let go of what we've got, the end product. So I want to know the tenants that we're moving in, and we want to give the best service. We on average we've got 19-20 months people staying at
Wow.
HMOs. So that's not just by luck. That's a lot of stuff,
really
and that's
good.
great. That's a reward, probably the hard work Anna's put in to keeping people up, keeping the standards of the rooms up, and keeping people happy. And that's the reason why we've never outsourced. We wanted to always insource, and I think that business will expand definitely over the next 2 to 3 years. And obviously, we'll obviously then expand out property wise and stuff. Again, keep to our target market. We're not going to jump all over the country and stuff. We're going to keep to our area, and that'll be sort of the key sort of big wins for us, hopefully, over the next sort of 2 to 5 years.
That's amazing. That's really, really cool. Chris, thank you so much for coming on. It's been such a valuable time. Even just for me, I've learned stuff in this podcast, and I'm sure that people who are listening will also have learned a lot. I said earlier on, but it's true. I really wanted to get you on the podcast. Your the projects that you've got going on, the quality of the finish, the attention to detail, I think is inspirational for people. Obviously the numbers are really exciting, really inspiring, but also just the quality of the product that you guys deliver, the value that you offer, and the way that you've offered value and support to me recently has been really, really appreciated. So just want to say thank you very much, and I'm sure people have got a lot of value from it. Where can people find you if they want to connect with you at all?
Yes, so people want to use Parkhurst Properties on Instagram. So we've got a website. It's been slow, believe it or not. We wanted to get it right, so it's going through development at the moment. So in the new year, there will be a Parkhurst website getting created. It's going through at the moment. But please reach out to us at Parkhurst Properties on Instagram. Anna and I both manage it. It's not outsourced to anyone else. You will be speaking to us. But yeah, and then if in the new sort of by the summer, we'll have our own offices and do stuff. So yeah, people can come and reach out and see us there. But yeah,
fantastic. Thanks again.
Thanks, Jack. Much appreciate the invite. So it's been great.